I'm here today with Carolyn Glasier. We're interviewing Carolyn for the BE collection and the coming out process of the collection. Thank you for being here. It is March 10th, 2023. Carolyn is a college professor. I've known Carolyn for a long time, and I'm delighted to have her here be a part of this. And we appreciate your support.
Very welcome.
Coming out to me is a sort of a broad spectrum kind of thing. And where does it start? Does it start when you're born? One does that awareness that you're not exactly in the same track as the person next door in terms of your sexuality. When did that start for you?
I think in a way I was always a little amiss. I thought your introduction in terms of not exactly like the person next door, I think that was true for myself. I felt good about myself, but I realized that I didn't always respond the same way other, particularly little girls did. And when I think back over that, that is more or less the way I grew up. And I think the coming out is really a life process, to tell you the truth.
I'd agree with that. Just that when you think that you're sort of settled with it and you know where you're at with it, I see them as challenges to our awareness, and then something we have to address that's new.
I think one of the particular events was when I was in junior high school, and I had a substitute teacher that day, and she was a person that was not particularly popular with the class. In fact, some kids didn't like her at all. But we were working on some sort of a paper or written something that was in writing. And she was a rather generous person in terms of her body. And she bent,
That's why I'm putting it.
and she bent over me and was trying to illustrate something. And she was talking in my ear and she was pointing on the paper. And I suddenly realized that I really didn't hear what she was saying. And what I realized was I had just a very physical feeling, almost like, I can't really describe it, but it was a physical thing. And my mind was focused on that feeling rather than on what she was explaining to me. And I didn't want her to stop explaining.
Keep the story coming, right?
Yeah. Keep your, just stay right there because I'm enjoying the process.
I understand that. Right.
So I guess that would be something that when I look back, that might have been the first indication that that I liked whatever it was that was going on. I was very comfortable with it. I liked it.
That's nice. Yeah. So did you, what time frame was this? What, I'm trying to think of the generations and how we approached it coming out as different years, this kind of thing.
Well, that was junior high school. So it was sometime in the 50s. Yeah, and well, I guess maybe it was closer to the 40s. It might have been, I don't remember. Sometimes I can't remember how old I am. So I'm going to say it was in the 50s. Yeah.
It sounds like it. Right.
Yeah.
And were you comfortable around your peers at that time? Did you think you might be a little on the edge of something that they were not on the edge of?
I was comfortable, but I didn't necessarily feel that my responses to things were similar to my classmates. I don't know if I can really explain that. I guess in a way, I felt like I was older than they were.
Huh.
And it was something that kind of was offsetting. I realized that I didn't engage with little girls in conversations about boys or boyfriends, or being particularly interested in the aspect of getting married or having babies. So
How old were you then?
I might have been in maybe somewhere between 10 and 12, somewhere in range. Mhm.
I think it's interesting at what time those discussions about getting married and having babies begin for us, for girls.
Well, I think they began very early. I can remember that receiving dolls for presents was perhaps for me the first indication that that lesson of how to take care of a baby was being taught, because the dolls came with little bottles where you could feed them, and they came with diapers so you could change their diapers. And I think from that point on, those messages of girls or a woman's role as caretaker for a household and babies and raising children, those lessons were being taught very early, elementary school.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you see your brother as getting different messages about how he was supposed to perform in life from what you received?
Oh yeah, remarkably so. Yeah. And it wasn't just my brother, it was also the boys in the class as compared to the girls in the class. I think the boys received much more information, and in rather overt ways, they seemed to be more important than the girls. They were going to be men one day, a valued role, and the girls were supposed to be somehow lesser in terms of the education and the capacity to earn a living and be a member of society and so on. They were rather almost objects that would one day belong to a boy or to a man, rather than an individual themselves. They were objects.
I remember taking a class on how to be an object for the woman. Yeah. Like how to sit straight, how to walk, how to this. And I couldn't stand it. I just dreaded it because I never felt that I could meet the expectations of the instructor. And I wasn't interested in it.
Yeah.
But it was out there.
I think those are also just like the dolls. Those are roles. Yeah, those are roles that we're supposed to play. And ultimately, those messages of posture and weight control and good hairdos are all to make us attractive to boys, and therefore slip into that role of motherhood and wife.
I thought I was supposed to be attracted to my mother because she had her expectations of what girls were geared to do.
you know.
I never met them. I
Well,
knew what they were.
yes, I would have to say the same. I, I think I was a disappointment to both my parents in that regard.
Mhm. How did
Yeah.
they show that? They were disappointed.
I guess one way they showed it was to not participate in the things that I was interested in. I remember wanting a bicycle, and I eventually received one. It was a used bike. And I also wanted a baseball glove. And I remember that after a long period of campaigning for that glove, my dad did purchase one. And I remember he gave it to me, and he walked out on the driveway, and he handed it to me, and then he turned around and walked away. And baseball, you need at least one other person to be able to use that glove. And
That's right.
neither of my parents ever were interested in learning to play the game or even watch the game. It would have been nice if my dad would have said, "Come on, let's throw the ball around a little, and you can see how the glove works."
Mhm.
But he obviously has no interest in that. And later in my academic career, I played on the tennis teams, and I was a college athlete. And neither of my parents showed any interest in coming to watch,
Oh, I'm
or
sorry.
even asking me questions about it. I'm sure they had no idea how to score tennis, and hey, had no interest in learning either.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, from that point of view, I was just a little foreign to their way of thinking about my direction in life.
At what point did you think that your direction was going to be connecting to women or girls in terms of your intimate needs?
Oh, I think that came. I think that came a long time later.
Not in
I guess,
high school.
no, even after that.
Mhm.
I think some of it had to do with lack of information, to tell you the truth, Diane.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that that there were opportunities in that regard.
Did you have a best girlfriend?
I usually had a feeling of admiration for a girl that was in my class.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say I wanted to talk with her, and I wanted to stand next to her, that sort of thing. And it was reciprocated.
Yeah,
To
was it? That's good.
Yeah, but those were diverging paths as well. When we graduated from elementary school, and when the class was over, that person would move away,
Mhm.
or separate from me, I should say, not move like leaving town, but
Right.
she didn't have any interest in continuing with any sort of relationship. So those didn't really develop.
That's painful.
Well, yeah,
Disappointing, I guess is probably
Yeah.
better.
yeah, it was more disappointing. I thought, oh, well, I guess that was just an in-class thing.
Right.
Yeah,
That's it. You don't know how to be. And how you are isn't always acceptable to somebody else. So that's confusing.
it is confusing. Yeah, yeah. I knew very particularly that my interest in boys was more trying to get them to let me play on their teams, like softball and,
Right.
and kickball in elementary school. I could kick the ball farther. I knew I could. I did. And the guys didn't seem to invite me to play in the game.
Right. They didn't want to be intimidated.
Yeah, that's right. I had one, a teacher in the 6th grade decided there should be a softball game between the 5th grade and the 6th grade. And so, of course, it was the boys that were going to play and the girls were going to be the cheer. He said, but with one exception, and he said, Carolyn, I want you to pitch for the 6th grade. And I felt a little uncomfortable in that, but at the same time, it was a chance to play.
Right.
So I did. I pitched in the game, but I could feel the rancor of the other team members. They didn't like that at all. And so that was a disappointing situation to be in.
Yeah, just when you think, oh, good, I can inch my way in a little bit.
Yeah, it didn't work. Yeah, and I knew that was the only way to play, because as we moved on to junior high school and senior high school, the athletic teams did not extend to the girls. They were just for the boys. So
that was before Title IX.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
When you went to college, when was your first significant relationship with a woman other than your mother?
Well, I lived in the dorm and I became aware that there were girls that were swapping roommates. Yeah, to get to the right person in the room was their goal. And I was aware of it, but I think by that time there were some messages passed to me that I didn't realize. And I realized that what was going on was dangerous. If they were discovered, it would mean they probably would have to leave the dorm. And I remember one particular person who was involved in a relationship, and she approached me and she said something about, wouldn't you like to do this? Wouldn't you like to have that? And I said, no. I said, I don't think you should be doing that. And she said, oh, why not? Why not? It's normal. And
that word.
For me, it wasn't at all. And I just made it a point to leave that conversation and to avoid that person. Because something about it wasn't as it should be. And it was frightening to me.
You didn't feel safe.
No, it wasn't safe at all. No, not at that time.
I think college is a time too when we have to define our own safety, because we don't have the parent around telling us how to do, how to dress, how to this. We're on our own, really.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's as it should be, I think. I think college is a time to take on adult roles and to learn things that are dangerous. And certainly that was one of them. Yeah. When I was in college, I didn't know really any lesbian or gay people, at least by those names.
Mhm.
I might have realized that there were people like the girls in the dorm who were participating in something that was dangerous. And
And you don't really understand it because you know it's dangerous, but you don't exactly know why it's dangerous.
yeah,
You're
that's,
included, but you want to be a part of it. It's a very confusing time, I think.
it is very confusing. And I helped to diffuse that by turning to alcohol. That was the way I made myself a little more comfortable in social situations, was to have some alcohol and see if that didn't help, and or at least it would take my mind off of what was going on around me.
Did it help?
Yeah.
It was helpful.
Well, it helped. It helped me feel that I was more a part of the people. Yeah, but it didn't really help. It was just a loss of consciousness to a point, and that continued throughout my college years.
Mhm. Pretty common.
Yeah, pretty common.
Mhm. And then after, did you have an intimate relationship with a woman while you were in college, or did you wait?
No, I really didn't.
Uh,
I think I was kind of brought out in that regard by someone else, and it happened a long years after college. It was I was teaching
mhm.
at the college, and I rented this little bootleg apartment on the back of a house, and it was summer, and there was a security door that was like a screen door, and I had that open when I pulled the bed out to go to sleep, so that anyone that came up on the porch would be looking directly at me as I was sleeping in this pull away, this wall bed that you pulled away. So one evening, well, actually, it was early in the morning, this colleague came, and she banged on the door to the point where I woke up, and she said, "Let me in, let me in." And I realized when I was opening the door that she'd been drinking. And so she all of a sudden just sort of pushed me backwards, and we fell into the bed. And that was the beginning of from that point on, she just literally moved in.
Did she?
And she said that she was very attracted to me, and she wanted to have a sexual relationship. And I guess I liked her.
Right.
Because she and I were together for 7 years, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a relationship.
and we bought a house together, and she had a long history of relationships with women, and So she was kind of a guiding force, you might say.
Mhm. She was experienced.
Ah, that's the word.
She knew what she wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did the relationship come to a close?
Well, she had affairs
Mhm.
during the course of the relationship. And yeah, that just didn't work.
Yeah,
It just
that
worked.
doesn't work.
Um, yeah, didn't work.
Mhm.
So after that, I was with, yeah, I had relationships with a few women,
Mhm.
but none of them really lasted very long.
Mhm.
So
No, I remember I didn't even know how to say the word lesbian without getting anxious.
well, I think you taught me the word.
Did I?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, it's a good word. Now I can do it. But I mean, it was such a statement about myself that I'd never encountered before.
yeah,
And I'm fine with it. But getting there was not easy.
yeah. I think even today, I'm reluctant to use that word unless I'm very sure of the people
Right.
that I'm surrounded with. Um, and I think having grown up in those times when it was actually illegal,
Right.
there was loss of career and loss of jobs,
Mhm.
and even jail time for people who engaged in such activities. Um, with that history, it's always kind of a cautionary approach in terms of um, who can be trusted with that information.
Mhm. And
And
I wouldn't introduce you. For example, I wouldn't say, this is Carolyn Glasier. She's a lesbian, Yeah.
yeah,
You're still cautious. And we have to be. I've
yeah,
caution to the wind isn't something I engage in.
no,
Mhm.
no, that's, I think I guard that word even more than I do my social security number.
Really? That's interesting.
Uh, I, everybody draws the line at some point.
Seems
Yeah.
like
I don't know. It's like signing forms, which one are you signing the deed to your house away?
I know without knowing it. You're trying to get through it, so you sign everything, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So now are you comfortable with the word in reference to yourself?
Um, I think I am.
Mhm.
In a way, I think the complexity of who we are is still a baffling one to me.
Mhm.
I can't say that I'm completely attracted to women. I'm attracted to women and I'm attracted to men.
Mhm.
It's just, and I guess in a way, I'm most particularly a person who finds relationships difficult. They have their attractiveness, but I'm not quite sure that I feel comfortable in uh, roles with sexual activity. uh, it's just something that I've never been able to solve for myself.
Mhm. The lifelong process.
Oh, yes, yes, and I'm running out of time. I'm running
Who knows, right?
out to solve it in this life. I might have to come back and give it another try.
Would you come back as a man or a woman?
Oh, I definitely a woman.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm comfortable being a woman.
Uh,
It's just the expectations of the sexual participation. I haven't got that one figured out yet, but I'm very comfortable being a woman.
Good. Do you like being the aggressor when you're pursuing relationships, or do you like to be pursued?
Oh gosh.
Or both?
Yeah, I guess yeah, maybe both. I think it's interesting and complimentary to be pursued,
Mhm.
not just in sexual regards, but almost on any
Person.
person, for any reason. And there's times when I feel that I would like to talk to a certain person, and
Mhm.
I enjoy being the one that makes the overtures to either conversation or anything else.
So that's good. It says you appreciate yourself as a purposeful, confident woman. I like that.
Yeah,
Mhm. I see you that way.
yeah. I think uncomfortable comes in when I feel very threatened, and I try not to put myself in a position to be threatened.
Right.
Yeah.
It happens, though.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sort of subtle. You don't really realize what's happening until it's happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that now when I fill something out, they want to know if I'm a she, her. I mean, I have so many choices of who I could be like, what gender I could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That
for me, that's too confusing.
it's very,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I'm older.
I think that started when it was the Miss or MRS or
Oh,
MIS
right. Remember that?
or,
That's such a big deal, right?
or the MS, which
Right.
I never got that one figured out.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the little box that says other.
Right. Well, it's Men's Magazine. Remember that?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even
And
think this anymore.
I thought to myself, well, let's see. I wonder what you would put down as an explanation when you marked other. I think it just got so confusing, and it became, at that point, for me, it just became something just not to even bother to check, because it was no longer in any way defining. There were too many options for that. I knew it was time for me to retire when a young man in my classes um, no longer called me Miss, they called me Ma'am. And I
Oh,
thought,
really? Yes, right.
and I thought, okay, I guess it's time to go.
Uh, what did you say to that?
Well, I didn't particularly like it, but
Uh,
I knew that it was me. It wasn't the young man. They weren't intending to be rude. They just realized that I had more gray hair than blonde anymore. So, you know, uh, it's sort of like carrying a cane now. Um, it does give a different approach when people look at you. There's aspects of carrying a cane that I rather like, because people hold the door open for you now.
right. And they'll hand you a grocery cart. I
Yeah.
remember going with my father to the And they had all these baskets out on the parking area. And I thought, why don't they pick these baskets up? Then I realized he went for one of those baskets that helped him get into the store.
Yeah,
Now
that's
I
right.
look at the basket too.
Yeah,
So
me too.
pass it on, yeah.
Come over here, basket.
I know,
I'm going to take you back. Yeah.
no. But what you're saying is the stages of our life influence greatly how we think about ourselves and what we're willing to pursue or not.
Mhm.
I'm comfortable being a lesbian, but I am aware of being cautious.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that's about.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think in the declining years, any sort of group housing, the senior retirement homes, for example, or convalescent homes, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I think that's the next stage of being comfortable in a group situation. Um, I get kind of bored when most of the women I know now talk endlessly about their grandchildren.
I know.
Eventually, they focus on me and say, well, now, what are your grandchildren doing?
What have you accomplished?
Yeah. I said, I don't have one of those.
Yeah, right.
Oh, really? Well, why not? And it's something that I find myself stepping away from the person or the group because I don't want to answer their questions. And so that kind of puts me out of the group, and the loss of, the friendships there. But I'm not willing to be quizzed as to why I never got married and why I don't have children, and therefore I don't have grandchildren.
Therefore, you have no identity.
That's right. There's something definitely wrong with that person. Let's avoid her. I'm not going to sit next to her for dinner.
And in a way, I think too, women don't care. Once they're in the having grandchildren phase, they don't care so much about whether you're a lesbian or you're not, or many of them are unhappy in their relationships. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would you like to say in conclusion? Thank you for doing this, by the way.
Well, I guess for the most part, I've experienced friendships and relationships with both men and women. And I'm happy for those experiences.
Mhm.
I'm not sure I want to repeat them in
Right.
terms of the heartbreak that usually follows a ending relationship. But in a way, I don't know that I would have done anything differently in my life. I'm happy for the experiences. I'm a little concerned about the future in terms of the general political feelings in the United States. I don't want to see another uprising and making gay and lesbian people enemies of the state. I'm amazed at how little we learn from history in terms of not just warfare, but we keep doing the same dumb mistakes over and over again. And certainly to outlaw gay and lesbian people is definitely something that was wrong and is wrong and will be wrong in the future. I just, when I think about that question, I always want to ask the perpetrator, the one that makes this wrong, I want to ask them, when did you choose to be heterosexual? And what did you use for a basis of your decision?
Mhm.
And when they are dumbfounded by my question, I would like to tell them, I didn't choose this. I was simply born to this.
Mhm.
That's the reality.
Important thing to remember. That's right.
It's not a choice.
It's not.
It isn't. And I know that then right away, the comment is, well, I'm heterosexual, therefore I am right. And I would follow, well, I'm homosexual, and therefore I am right as well.
We're all right. Just be happy.
Yeah, we're all, just be happy. Just stop making somebody wrong to make you right.
So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Diane.